Stop recording button. Double tap to activate.
Hello. Well, my yarn loving friends, this video is not about yarn, but I did wear something that I knit myself just for you, yarn lovers. So you could say, there's no yarn in this video. And I could say, well, I did wear something I had knit. Now, I didn't design this myself, but it is top-down, circular, seamless, as you know if you watch my channel, right? I'm not good at seaming because I'm visually impaired. So it is pink, it is sparkly, and you know it, story of my life. Yeah, it's made with a discontinued yarn. Sad face, right? Sad face emoji, yeah. Discontinued yarn, but it's the Vanna's Glamorous Pink. It's sparkly, it's nice, it's got some 5x5 knit 2 purl 2 ribbing, some stockinette, and then the ribbing on the sleeves and the bottom. I like it. It's modest. You can wear this. I didn't design it. I bought it off of Ravelry. You could wear this to work though. It's modest. You could also wear it out to date night if it's pink and sparkly like mine. So that's really all the yarn that we're going to talk about in this video. So if you're here just for yarn, please check out other videos on my channel. I got a premiere yarn haul. I have my video that says April 26th is local yarn store day. Local yarn store day has passed. However, I introduce you to my favorite local yarn store, Paradise Fibers in Spokane, Washington. And you can still check them out and shop there. If you've never checked them out, I highly recommend it. I got videos on whip stitching and skirt design. So there's other yarn videos on my channel. And if you're new to my channel, hello, my name's May. I love yarn, I love to knit and crochet, and I also happen to be visually impaired. So I knit and crochet by feel. And this video, why I'm making it is because on April 30th of 2025 is International Guide Dog Day. That's right. What is International Guide Dog Day? It is a day to show our appreciation for guide dogs. And if you don't know that, yeah, I had 3 guide dogs, 3 amazing guide dogs. They were such a blessing. They were such a gift. They have a special place in my heart forever and always. They will be with me. I had 3 guide dogs for 17 years. Got my first guide dog when I was in high school, when I was 17. She finished high school with me. She went to community college. She went to undergrad when I moved out for the first time. She moved with me to graduate school, did 1 year graduate school. She did not like Portland. I got a second guide dog. He finished graduate school with me, moved out. He was there with me when I saw my first therapy clients. Then I got my 3rd guide dog, Rosie. So they were all with me through really significant transitions in my young adult years, right? From 17 to 34, I had guide dogs by my side. And I will never forget that. And so when we have a day just to celebrate, remember, commemorate the hard work of my dogs, I still want them acknowledged. I still want to acknowledge their dedication, their loyalty, their hard work, their commitment. And we'll never forget them. And for people who are blind or visually impaired, a guide dog is so much more than a dog. They aren't just our companion. They are pretty much with us 24/7. Like, people love their dogs and they're their companions, and you see them at night and on the weekend. But we take our dogs to work with us. Our dogs walk us to the bus stop. They ride the bus with us. They go to work with us. They walk us to lunch. They go home with us. They go to the gym with us. They go out on dates with us. They do the grocery shopping with us. They go to yoga class with us. I've taken my dogs to all the above, on dates, to yoga, to theater performances, to the movies, to concerts. My dogs did anything and everything, okay? They lived an exciting, very, very busy life. And so they were by my side through relationships, through jobs, through big bursts in my life, through travel. And I don't ever want to forget that. And it's also International Guide Dog Day is also a day to educate people about guide dogs, because a lot of people don't know a lot about guide dogs. And so that's what I'm going to do with this video today. And I'll probably make a few more videos, maybe this coming week, or maybe at special times throughout the year for their birthdays or something, or the days that we met, just different things that pop into my mind. You'll probably find some guide dog videos on my channel. So I have to take advantage of this day to educate, to help people to understand what they are. So if you're blind or visually impaired, this channel is for everybody, of course, but it's also to help people who might be experiencing vision changes from accidents. It could be sudden changes like accidents or injury, or it could be age-related conditions. And once you start having vision issues, you might find yourself running into things, falling down curbs, falling down stairs, no longer able to locate, especially like a glass door or something. And so you're going to need to find another way to get around the world, right? And so usually the options are, one, you're going to have a human guide, but really, I mean, yeah, I guess, could you afford it? Do you have to pay the person? Or is it got to be your spouse? I mean, do you really want that with your spouse? So, a 24/7 human guide's probably not really the way that most adults want to go, right? Most adults really do want to be independent. At heart, they really want to be independent. They want to travel and navigate the world. They don't really want to be a burden to their spouse or their child forever. So then it becomes getting a white cane, right? This is mine right here. This is my white cane. And if you want to see me use it, there is a video on my channel that says come play hide and seek with me while we look for an Amazon package. I live out on 5 acres right now. Had an Amazon package left out by the road at the outbuilding. So if you want to see me go out my front door and walk down my driveway, please check out that video. You'll get to see the white cane in action. I do not have a guide dog right now. It's just the current circumstances of my life, where I live. I don't have a job right now. I'm unemployed. I'm not going to school. I live miles from even a bus stop. So I don't leave the property very often. And when I do, it's somebody takes me in a private vehicle. We park, we go inside, and that person can guide me. So I don't have a lot of uses for a guide dog, and I just don't feel. I'm not saying that's the right decision for everybody, but for me right now, with my current life circumstances, I don't feel it's appropriate for me to have a guide dog. Do I miss the companionship? Of course I do. My dogs were my best friends, and I do miss the companionship. But just my preference is that I don't feel like I would keep a guide dog. They usually love their job, right? My dogs loved their jobs, and they would have been bored. I mean, would they love to play? Sure. But, you want to keep their skills up. They love to work. They love to have a purpose. A dog that was bred to work loves to have a purpose. Believe it or not, they do. Most guide dogs are bred specifically to be a guide dog, and they love having a job, and they love having a purpose. And my guide dogs loved having a job. So, they would have gotten a little bored, might have got a little less sharp on their skills if they only worked, once a month or something. So it's just my choice. But I can't make that decision for everybody. When I had my guide dogs, my life was so active. It was so full. It was college. It was work. It was boyfriends. It was travel. My life was just so busy. And so my guide dogs were kept very busy. So, whether a person needs one or not is their personal decision. And some people just say, you know what, I still would like to have a guide dog to go to the grocery store and my doctor's appointments, even if they're not working. There's nothing wrong with that at all. To just say, I go to the store once a week and I'm going to call an Uber and have him take me, and then you got to navigate the store, or, you got regular doctor's appointments or church on Sundays and you want to have a guide dog just for that, by all means, it's something to look into. I'm just making that choice for me. Each person will have to make their own decision. So one of the first things I like to tell people about guide dogs is that if you're having vision changes, you can't just think, well, I'm just going to go out and get a guide dog and it's going to know how to get me places. Okay, you have to have something first called orientation and mobility. Now, I'm not going to get deep into what that is in this video. I could talk about that in another video, how I travel. But you have to know how to travel when you get a guide dog. A guide dog knows right and left, but you have to be able to know to tell it which way you want to go. You have to know how to cross the street independently. You have to know how to listen for your parallel traffic and how to listen for traffic patterns. So if you don't know how to cross the street with your ears, right? Once you can't cross the street with your eyes anymore, if you don't know how to cross the street with your ears, how to listen for your traffic patterns, then you need to know how to do those things safely first. And so you'll need to get orientation and mobility training first. Well, they'll likely introduce you to the long white cane and give you some basic travel skills, and then you can decide, hey, I think I'd really like to have a guide dog. If your child is visually impaired, they can get orientation and mobility through the school district, and that's what happened to me because I was born visually impaired. Yes, I was born this way. If you're ever wondering that, if you didn't watch one of my earlier videos where I explain that to people, yes, I was born with a condition called optic nerve hypoplasia. That just means that my optic nerve stopped developing before I was born. So I have a super primitive visual system. That's the whole colorblind thing that I talk about on videos. I'm colorblind, so sometimes the yarn thing, yarn shopping, matching colors in projects can be a little bit iffy, right? I talk about that a lot. So there's that. So that's why. It's because the cells in my eyes that see color and see during the daylight are not attached to my brain at all. They're not wired. So I just have a little bit of night vision cells attached, and that's what I see. So I see a little bit of what you might see at night. So I can still see headlights, I see shapes, I see shadows. And that's why for me, even though indoors, I can still see some indoors, especially if I control the light. I can still read, large print for short periods of time. And I definitely have friends who use guide dogs who are totally blind who've said to me, you're not blind. And that's true. I'm not. But I am blind in the sunlight. And so a guide dog was very useful for me to go out and catch the bus, to go to school, to go to work because I couldn't find the stairs. Plus, I don't have depth perception. I have very different visual acuities in both my eyes. I see better with further distance with my left eye, close-up stuff with my right eye. It goes back and forth in terms of, which one's working better. I usually just try to see with one eye at a time rather than try to mess myself up and try to see with two different eyes that are not seeing the same thing. So I don't have depth perception. So even in the evening, if I could see, hey, if it's dark, I might say, hey, there's stairs. I don't have depth perception. So a guide dog can be really helpful to help me figure things out like that. So that's one of the things that I do want to talk about with people. We'll get into that in a little bit. But you do need to have some basic travel skills where you'll learn how to use a right cane, how to white cane, how to cross streets. You have to have those skills before you get a guide dog. So there is that. Now I live in the United States, where we are covered by what's called the Americans with Disabilities Act, So the Americans with Disabilities Act allows me to take my guide dog in public, right? They allow me to take my guide dog on buses and college classes, to my work office, to my doctor appointments, to museums, to parks, to stores, grocery shopping, into restaurants, movie theaters, concerts. My guide dogs went all over the place. So I'm not even going to try to talk about guide dogs and guide dog laws and schools and training in other countries because I'm not knowledgeable. I do know a little bit about Canada and the UK and Japan, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to educate people on those things. I do know when I'm ignorant, right? I'm not even going to be with people who go, well, maybe. I don't know. I'm just going to tell you that. Google that for yourself because I don't know. If you're in the UK or Japan or somewhere else, and you want to know, you're going to have to Google that because I don't know. So I'm just going to share with you my personal experience of living in the United States. And of course, lots of other people who use guide dogs who live in the United States have different experiences. I'm just sharing mine with you. So one of the first things I think that I will talk about is that one of the big misconceptions is that you have to be totally blind to get a guide dog, right? And I've just shared with you that I'm not totally blind, and I still had 3 amazing guide dogs. I got my first guide dog when I was 17. Her name was Genevieve. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful black and tan German Shepherd. I'm going to show some pictures of my guide dogs because I am not totally blind. I can't see. And if you haven't heard me say it before, one of the reasons I record in the evening in a room that's dimly lit is because I am blinded by light, and light is super painful for me. So when I keep the lights dim, then I can see pictures and see things a little bit and sort of a rough, sort of shades. So I do use an editing app sometimes, but I don't have enough sight to edit visually frame by frame and put pictures in. I don't have enough sight to do that. So I can't talk to you about my guide dogs and then edit and put in a picture. Sometimes I will put pictures in at the end, but I don't have enough tech skills to do a voice-over track to narrate that for people who might be visually impaired or blind who are watching this, and I don't want them to be left out. Of course not. I'm on YouTube to promote accessibility to people, to make sure that people who are visually impaired are included in social media. So I like things described to me. So I don't want to just put in some pictures at the end and then have somebody who's visually impaired who wants to learn about guide dogs watch it and not know. So I'm going to show you a few pictures of my guide dogs right here. It's going to be a little rough, but I'll just show them to you here, and I'll describe them. So I thought I would show you my very first guide dog that I got. Her name was Genevieve. This is a picture of us in high school. It's one of my senior pictures. I am sitting on a bench. I am wearing a straw hat with a daisy on it, a jean denim jacket with fringe, some fishnet tights, and a beautiful, got my hair in braids, and I have a beautiful little black and tan saddleback traditional German Shepherd named Genevieve. That was my senior year of high school. Yes, I really did dress like that regularly. If you can't tell from my knitting style, right, the things that I knit, I love to play with fashion. I love to do individual things. I love to be unique. So I would walk around school dressed like that, in fringe, in fishnet. I'm wearing fishnets with shorts, and I'd wear that big straw hat to school. Let me tell you, I grew up in public school. I was mainstream. By the time I was 18, I knew I was different, okay? It no longer bothers me. And I can't see how sighted people are looking at me anyways. So I was relieved of the burden a long time ago of caring about what other people thought of me, because I knew I was very different. I grew up being bullied in public school. I grew up very unpopular in school a lot of times in my life. I was already very used to being different. So I was not afraid. By the time I was in high school, I was not afraid to just do what I liked. I didn't care if nobody else was wearing a big straw hat and a fringe jacket and fishnets and shorts, okay? I didn't care. I didn't care how they looked at me. I didn't care if nobody wore that. I was already comfortable in my skin being like, you know what? I like fringe. I'm going to wear it. You know what? I like straw hats. I'm going to wear them. I just didn't care. And I really hope that's one thing I can do on this channel is encourage people with their knitting and their crochet to really embrace your individuality. Don't be afraid to design on your own, to create things in your head by yourself. Design on your own. If you want to add some fringe, right? If you want to turn your shawl into a skirt, that's what I just did. You can watch some videos on my channel on skirt design. Saw that shawl from Crystal, right? I don't think it's in here right now. Oh my God, gasp. It is. The love of my life shawl, right? Designed by Crystal from Bag O' Day. This shawl's been in many videos, and if you saw my skirt design videos and my tonal yarn videos and my whip stitching videos, I was like, I gotta make that shawl into a skirt, and I did, and that is not with me, unfortunately. I didn't even think about it, but I've really been an individual with style, so I encourage people to do that. So that's Genevieve, my very first guide dog. Trying to see if I have any more fun pictures of her. That is Genevieve and I at graduation when we graduated from the community college. We're up there shaking hands with whoever hands us our diploma. We got our cap and gown on. And this is a picture of, what is that? That's Genevieve and I walking around at the 4-year university. We are walking. We're leaving a building and heading out. She is in her harness. She's been in her harness in all 3 of these pictures. So that was Genevieve, and she was my first guide dog that I got in high school. So that's her. Did not mess up my knitting, right? Look, Genevieve's even got her own book. It's a scrapbook that I made, and she's got like a puffy German Shepherd sticker on it. And my sister wrote her name and calligraphy on it. You could tell she was my first guide dog because I had every intention, like a first mother with their first baby, of making one for my other guide dogs that I never did because, you know, life be lifing, right? Life be lifing. And I never got to it. So, but I will show you my second guide dog. Can't even find the picture I was looking for, but that's okay. Okay, here it is. My second guide dog I got between my first and second years in graduate school, and his name was Albee, A-L-B-E-E. He was named after Edward Albee, the author, right? Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? I took him to see that play. Yes, I did. When Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf was performed in Portland, you know I had to take Albee to go see Edward Albee's play. I mean, come on, right? So, he was with me in graduate school. He was with me when I saw my very first therapy clients. And he was the perfect dog to see clients with me. We also went to the gym. So here's a picture of me sitting on the leg press in the gym. And I've got Albee. He's sitting up in my lap, and he's I'm giving him a big hug. And this is a picture of us on our way. We're catching the bus. So there's a bus shelter and a city bus. And he is guiding me on to the bus. And then I have a couple more pictures of him. Let's see. Of him at work. Okay. And as I mentioned, guide dogs are trained. They are trained to stop at curbs, so that we don't trip over them, right? Even though I have some sight, the whole depth perception thing. So this is a picture of him working, and he's stopping at a curb, and that's what he does. A guide dog stops at a curb, and then we walk up slowly and we feel with our foot what's our dog stopping for. So that's a picture of him stopping at a curb and showing me that curb. And we did that 5 days a week when we lived there. That's when I was going to graduate school, and we'd walk from my apartment and cross the street to the bus stop. And that was what he did 5 days a week. He'd show me that very same curb. And then this is a picture. These are kind of light pictures. A friend who was taking a photography class took these pictures. So he was playing with different lighting settings. He's actually developed these like himself in a dark room. So this is a picture of us downtown going to the medical building. This is where we saw clients, at the medical building in Portland. And it has one of those buttons, right? A push button for the door for a wheelchair, for access. And he would stop at the corner of the building and he would point his little nose up at the button so I could find it. So that's what he's doing in the picture. As you can see, him stopped at the corner and he's looking up at the little push button for me to show it to me. And I trained him to do that. I trained him to stop at the corner and find the push button for me. And you can totally do that. You can train guide dogs to find crosswalk buttons to push, elevator buttons, all kinds of things. So that was some of what Albie did. And let's see if I can find a few pictures of my of my third guide dog. I hope so. I hope so. What did I pull up? Oh gosh. Oh, that's Albie and I too in the lobby of a theater. I might have been going to see Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, but we did have season tickets to Portland Center Stage, so we could have been seeing a number of shows. But I have a black wool coat on. It has furry cuffs, and we're in the lobby. He of course has his harness on, and he had his harness on in all three of those pictures. He's a beautiful, beautiful black and tan German Shepherd, really dark black. He's got his whole face just about, except around his cheeks, is black. Like instead of having Genevieve had the traditional black and tan mask, Albie's face was very black and very dark. And then my third guide dog's name was Rosie, and I got her after graduate school when I was applying for jobs, and I was really involved in the dragon boat community in Portland, doing Portland to Coast. And really doing a lot of volunteer work in my community. And I got Rosie then. And this is a picture of my sister and I also at the lobby of a theater getting ready to go inside with Rosie. And this is a picture of Rosie at home. So she does not have her harness on in this picture, but this is a skill that is really, really important for guide dogs. Guide dogs are in restaurants, they're in grocery stores, they're in parks, they're in all kinds of places where there is food present. And guide dogs are not allowed to take human food without permission. Your guide dog has to walk by kids eating ice cream, eating cookies. They gotta walk by food in the grocery store and, walk by people's tables and ignore it completely. People would when I went to high school with my first guide dog, Genevieve, kids would be throwing French fries at her in the hallway, trying to feed her, and she ignored it. Just ignored it. So this is at home, but food refusal is a really, really important skill with the guide dog that you should maintain and practice even when they're not working. So this is Rosie laying on the floor of my parents' house, and I've set my cake down. It's a piece of cake. It's just a piece of apple cake with whipped cream or ice cream or something on it. And I set it down on the floor, and I just left it there in front of her, and she was to not touch it. And she's not even looking at it. She's just like, nope, it's a test. It's a test. Cake will get me in trouble. Trouble, right? So she was like having nothing to do with. She's not even looking at it. She's like, So, yeah. So food refusal. If you have a guide dog, food refusal super, super important. So those are my 3 guide dogs. I wanted to introduce you guys to all of them. I wanted to remember them today. And today I think I will talk about just one more thing. Do I want to talk about one more thing? Sure, I'll talk about one more thing, and then maybe I'll do a few more guide dog videos rather than make this super long. So the whole idea that a lot of people think you have to be totally blind to get a guide dog, because even I thought I wasn't blind enough, right? When I was still 16, I had met some guide dogs. I loved guide dogs, but I really believed that I had to be totally blind or have less sight. And then when I was attending a summer school program at the Washington State School for the Blind, one of the experiences that we got to have was to go to the job sites of two blind people or visually impaired people. One was blind, one was visually impaired like me, to visit them at work. And that was so valuable to us. And one of the young women that got permission from her employers, right, to bring an whole tour of blind and visually impaired kids was to see her at work and ask her questions. And she had the cutest little yellow Labrador guide dog with her. And then when we got to visit her workstation, she was showing us this huge monitor that she used that had this magnification system and how she could still use large print on the job. And let me tell you what, that perked my ears right up. Because I had known all about guide dogs, but I thought, oh, I got too much sight. I can still read large print. I got too much sight. For just because I can't see in the sunlight, right? I still thought I wasn't blind enough for a guide dog. And so I had to know all about that. I was like, wait, so you can still read large print and they gave you a guide dog? And she was like, yeah. So immediately I had to know about that. And once I learned that from her, I asked her a lot of questions. We talked about that. And she was like, yeah, you just have to be legally blind to have a guide dog. So you need to have a diagnosis from your ophthalmologist, from a medical provider. You will need medical documentation. A lot of people that are like, got a disability, and maybe you do. But you need to have to get accommodations, right? Like at work or something, or at school. If you're at work and you're just saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. Well, you're going to need medical documentation, evaluations, and you might even need to show some of that, unredacted, right? If you just turn in a bunch of forms that are blacked out and saying I'm disabled, but I can't tell you, you might need to disclose some things. Now, there are, some things that you may or may not want to disclose, and you don't have to. But if you want a reasonable accommodation, you might have to disclose some things at work to, discuss why that would be a reasonable accommodation for you. So I'm just saying. So I had to have a letter from an ophthalmologist to apply to the guide dog schools that stated, right? And I was diagnosed as legally blind before I was 2, I'm pretty sure, okay? Because I had my first eye surgery when I was 13, 14 months or something. They already knew I had vision issues, okay? I had my first eye surgery when I was 13 or 14 months. They knew I was cross-eyed, severely cross-eyed, couldn't walk independently until I had my eye surgeries. So I go into that in other videos. So I had an ophthalmologist from when I was a baby. There was a long documented history of my visual impairment. So even though I wasn't totally blind, I had years of documentation saying, yes, this person is legally blind. But that was all that I needed to apply for a guide dog. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're legally blind, but you're like, well, I can still use I can still zoom things in. I still got my 10x magnifier. I'm still reading some things. Well, that doesn't mean that doesn't disqualify you from needing assistance navigating the world safely, right? Just because I can see something 10x an inch from my face doesn't mean I can see a bicycle across the sidewalk without tripping over it. It doesn't mean that I can find the curb and not fall flat on my face into the streets. And I think that's where people get really confused, because they'll see that I can still see something, an inch or 2 from my face, and they'll think, well, you can see. Well, yes, I can. It's very helpful. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful that I can still see that. but it also still doesn't mean that I wouldn't benefit from a guide dog, because I can't see, 5 feet down at the ground what's at my feet. I can't see that. I don't know what's in front of me on the ground. So don't think that you have to wait until you're totally blind to get a guide dog. And I think the only other thing that I'm going to say in this video, because I know this is getting long already, is that there are numerous organizations in the United States that train guide dogs. Guide Dogs for the Blind, Guide Dogs of America, Guide Dogs of the Desert, Fidelco Guide Dogs, Southeastern Guide Dogs, Leader Dogs for the Blind, Pilot Dogs, Guiding Eyes for the Blind, the Guide Dog Foundation, Freedom Guide Dogs. All of those are guide dog schools that will train a guide dog for you. I'm not even going to go into the process in this video of what I went through to get my guide dogs. I can make that another video, because I think this has been long enough for International Guide Dog Day 2025. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to share with you that piece of my life, because those 3 dogs are so special to me. They're always going to be in my heart. They witnessed every moment of my life, of dating with boyfriends, of moving in with boyfriends, of vacations with boyfriends, of first day at work and first day at college, and walking across the graduation stage at high school, and going on trips and traveling. Rosie and I, we did a cross-country trip, okay? From Florida, we went across the country to Portland, Oregon. I mean, that's a big trip, 2,500 miles, people. Yeah, how many of you have done that? How many people have done that who've driven across the United States? Rosie, my beloved guide dog, got to do that with me. We went from the Florida Keys to Portland, Oregon. Long trip. So, anyways, I just want to take this opportunity to introduce you all to them, because they were so special to me. They always will be. I think I'm going to close this video for now, but I might do another video this week or later on, or 2 or 3 or 4. I got lots and lots of guide dog stories. So we might have to do some guide dog story videos, because they're great, they're funny, they're amusing, they touch my heart. Those are always going to be the memories of my life, and I really want to make sure that I use this platform. Yes, of course, knitting and crochet are my hobby. Okay, we're gonna talk about yarn. I promise. If you're still here and you're a yarn lover, I promise we're gonna talk about yarn. Okay, but I really feel like I want to use this channel and use this platform to educate on the topic of visual impairments and disabilities. So if you are looking for disability stuff, there's definitely going to be some disability stuff on this channel. Alrighty, well, thanks so much for stopping by, hanging out, indulging me, walking down memory lane, learning about my 3 amazing guide dogs. And until next time, happy stitching, my friends. Bye-bye for now.
Pause.
Okay, well, when I do knitting and crochet stuff, I always like to turn the light on at the end so people can see things that I've shown, because I know that many people who are visually impaired are the opposite of me. They have night blindness and they need some light to see. So here are, let's see if I can do this without getting a glare on there. This is the picture of Genevieve and I in high school, where I'm wearing this straw hat and the fringe and the fishnets. Let's see if this is our graduation from the community college where we're getting our diploma, and I'm in my cap and gown, and yes, she's also in her harness. She's a black and tan German Shepherd in that picture. Let's see. Whoop. This is the picture of her and I. She's in her harness, and we're exiting a building on campus. That's where I did my 4-year education. This is the picture of Albie, a big, handsome, black and tan German Shepherd. We're at the gym. I'm sitting on the leg press. He's crawled up into my lap, getting some love, getting his hugs. He loved hugs. This is the picture of him and I. He's in his harness, and we are boarding a city bus to go into school. What else is going on here? Okay, this is the picture of him stopping at the curb. He's showing us the step up, and he did that 5 days a week. Every day he would show me that curb, and we'd go across the street to walk to one or two bus stops. This is the picture of the entrance of the medical building where I worked and saw clients and took classes in downtown Portland, and that he stopped at the corner of the building looking up at the push button, and yes, I trained him to do that. You can absolutely train a guide dog to do that. Here is the picture of me in my black wool coat. He is in his harness, and we are standing in the lobby of a theater. And let's see. Here's a picture of my sister and I. Probably should have asked her before I put a picture of her up on YouTube. But that's Rosie. Rosie was a sable German Shepherd, and she was beautiful. And she's in her harness, and she's with my sister, and we're in the lobby going to see another play. And I think there was one more picture. Oh yeah, this is Rosie hanging out at home, still having to be on her best behavior, practicing food refusal. I put my cake down in front of her. How mean. And she won't look at it because she knows that is a test. So, all right, thanks so much for joining me on International Guide Dog Day. Until next time, friends, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Pause.